Yeah, it feels like Whoa!
I had a feeling that was gonna happen.
Monday morning's off to a bit of a slow start. The temperature doesn't help, but hopefully some music helps. For those of you that are new around here, we lift weights 3 days a week as a family, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I started lifting weights right around 3 years ago for the first time in my life because Cammie said she wanted me more buff to increase the traction levels. And since then, I don't really feel like I need to be any more buff, and the kids don't really lift weights. Well, actually, I don't know exactly why they do it, but the main reason why we prioritize it as a family is just because it keeps us feeling good and gets our day started. And I really like how it makes us focus on doing something hard together and building teamwork.
I am doing an inventory of our pantry so we can start using stuff up and things get forgotten really easily in here. So I'm writing stuff down, what we have. I'm also getting rid of some stuff. Light corn syrup.
Oh no!
Who needs that?
No! I need no. Broomcocker season is coming up, and I'm going to use.
Today's topic is gonna be about a little disagreement that Cammie and I got in last night and kind of stretched into this morning. And we don't see a lot of these types of talks or discussions on the internet. And it's not really that fun to make them because it feels kind of mundane and boring to us. And then it also feels
like a Debbie Downer.
Yeah, it feels like Whoa! It feels kind of personal. Sorry, we're trying to film on the bed. But
it's important, I think, because no one talks about these things that happen to everyone, especially in marriages.
Yeah, there is a lot of value in it, we think, even though it's not the most entertaining. And we're committed to actually creating value versus entertainment. And you have to ask this question, like, of the most popular vloggers out there, why aren't they filming this kind of thing? And I'm not saying they're bad people for doing it, but everyone has fights. Like, everyone has conflict and doesn't agree in any good marriage that's worth fighting for. I think it's kind of sad that people don't feel like they can put it out, don't believe that it's worthwhile putting out. And it kind of shows like the pressure to just create a show with our life. That's what we're fighting against. Not as just some public service for you guys, but we've actually been really hurt by that goal. So, okay, that's enough of an intro. Yesterday, I was like really excited about Cammie physically. So I was like making some moves on her. This is in bed. We got in bed at 10 p.m. It was pretty early. We were cuddling and snuggling. We were in our bedtime outfits, which is nothing. And everything was going good. We had already had sex that day, so this wasn't about trying to get sex again. And I know what you're thinking. That was a Sunday. Is that a sex day? And all I can say is things are crazy around here. And then she like flips on me. Like,
this is his interpretation.
Where she like is like, get off. I'm done. What's so funny over there?
That's just funny hearing your interpretation.
Maybe I'm being a little dramatic, but that's how it felt. I don't remember exactly what you said.
I don't either. But it was something like, get off me now.
And it wasn't like 100% serious, but I could tell there was some like serious undercurrents. So I got off and came back over to my side of the bed, which is all the way over here. I didn't really want to talk to her after that or touch her. And then of course she's like, oh no, okay, you can come back. I'm willing to do whatever now. And I was like, no, you already killed the fun.
No, fuck you then.
Yeah. In fact, you were yelling that at me. You're like, fuck you. Fuck you then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, remember that?
Because I felt you pulling away from me emotionally, and so I was just like, F you, Ben.
So I didn't want to touch her after that. Instead of me like holding her and spooning, we like touched backs and like butts. So it was kind of like I was facing that direction and she was facing in that direction. Mm-hmm. And then we went to sleep. And I was thinking two things that were like really oppositional. One is, oh, I'm really glad she spoke up and I want her to speak up. And
for most of our marriage, I didn't. Because I didn't feel like I could, inside myself, like I didn't feel like I could. Yes, he was a more aggressive personality, but it was also inside of me where I didn't have the ability to speak up. But now I do, and now I'm like overcompensating, I think.
So I was like glad that she did, but then I was like, it took a lot of vulnerability for me to physically pursue her in that way, which is not something I do every night. In fact, I think it's the second time it's happened in 2 months that I've tried that. And both times she's like, shut it down. And then it makes me not want to be vulnerable and pursue her in that way anymore, because I felt like it came with no advance notice. And it was just like from 0 to 100 in terms of intensity level. So I was torn between like those two things, because I was like, I can see your side. And it was obvious you didn't like it. I'm not entirely sure why, but it doesn't matter. You just didn't. And you're entitled to that. But also, it was like, oh, that was hurtful. And I know people are going to be like, Ben, lay off. You are so aggressive. To those people.
That's not validating his feelings. And I think his feelings are just as important as mine.
Yeah. So I would just tell those people to shut up for that reason. But also, actually, this isn't a guy-girl thing or a Ben Cammy thing. I think there's personalities here. There is sex roles in terms of guys and girls. Mm-hmm. There's our history. But this could just as easily be flipped, or the girl's pursuing the guy, or Cammy's pursuing me. And I actually think it's important for us to work through this and validate each other's perspectives and feelings. Because in the long run, I think Cammy actually wants me not to give up in pursuing this thing or our relationship in that way, mm-hmm. even though I could easily walk away with that message yesterday. Yeah. So by you saying, Ben, or for that matter, if you're like, oh, Cammy's opinion is stupid, it's actually not working towards productively solving anything. It's just taking a side, which we can do that on our own. We can be like, okay, I'm going to stay on my side. And you can be like, well, I'm going to stay on mine. Okay, that's a great way to not solve anything. We don't want to do that. We want to understand each other because we're stuck with each other, but it's harder.
And I think when you try to understand someone else, you grow from that. And we are committed to growing.
So this morning we were taking a shower.
Yeah, do you want me to talk about my side?
Go for it.
Ben is pursuing me, and I realized I didn't like how he was pursuing me. It felt too pushy to me, and so I think I just reacted by telling him to get off, basically, and then he did, and this has been a pattern in our marriage. He distanced himself emotionally from me, and that's a trigger for me. To then overcompensate however I can to get him back emotionally. Which I did a little bit, I think. Yeah, like you said, I was like, oh, it's okay. But it's like I have this two warring sides in me now where I want him back and I don't want, it hurts for him to emotionally distanced himself from me. But I also, and that's why I was like, F you, Ben. I was also I'm hurt by even feeling like I have to do that. Like, I want him to just be like, okay, you can be hurt, but why do you have to distance yourself?
It's not a conscious choice that I'm making.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, screw you, Cammie, I'm going to not be close to you right now. It's very instinctual, and I'm not saying that makes it right. I don't even know why I do it.
Yeah.
Like, in fact, you were asking me yesterday, did I hurt you? And I was like, legitimately saying, I don't know.
So I actually think we both had these like two ways that we were instinctually acting. Me to say, get off me, get off me, get off me. And I don't even know why. You know, I had this instinct. I mean, I think there's psychology behind that I've tried to figure out. And then Ben has this instinct of like, when he gets hurt, to just emotionally withdraw. And I think both of us are learning how to be gracious to each other, because that's just where we're at right now. And it's not all bad. It's just, but those two things in us hurt one another.
She's saying, I don't feel safe right now. But what I hear is, I don't love you or want you to physically come near me. Mm-hmm. Because that's how it comes out to me. But that's not actually what she's saying.
And I think you're saying, I'm really hurt. And I'm actually kind of afraid of you right now. And I don't want to be vulnerable with you. But what I hear is, okay, you did something that displeased me, and now I'm punishing you. I don't think that's what he's really saying, but that's what it feels. And feelings are so strong. Like, they will take over your mind, even if you're like, no, I know that's not why he's doing that.
And that's why we've been talking about on some of these vlogs about how important it is to talk about our experience instead of appeal to some like code, whether it's spiritual or some other thing. Because I could just say, well, you rejected me. You did this. But actually, I don't know what's going on in her head. I don't know her full story. All I know is what I experienced. And I did experience rejection, and that's a true thing. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that she did it. So I have to be able to come to her in the big picture with who I really am and how I experience that. But also I have to be open to hearing and adjusting my perspective of her. Otherwise, we're going to be at just like this conflict impasse. And we're going to spend all of our time in that area being like, you rejected me. She's like, no, I didn't. I'm like, yeah, you did. No, you didn't. Okay, like that's going to be the rest of our...
You're punishing me. No, I'm not.
And that takes like so much energy, when it's kind of sad, because I think in a way we're both right, but it doesn't even matter who's right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in the shower, I apologized to Ben, but I really tried to make it about, I didn't do anything wrong. So I wasn't apologizing because I did something wrong, but I hurt him. So I hurt his feelings, and that's valid. And so I apologize for hurting his feelings.
Or I was hurt, even. Maybe you didn't even hurt me.
Right. I apologize for what I did or said came across to him in a hurtful way. And I was able to see that. I was able to put myself in his shoes and say, oh yeah, that would really hurt me too.
And it kind of worked. Partially, I was like, that wasn't a very effective apology. But I don't really think it's your job to make me feel better. Like, I think it hurt just because sometimes marriage hurts. Like, we're not compatible in a lot of ways. Like, she doesn't want exactly what I want when I want it.
That's interesting. Like, I think I've been conditioned to think that it's my job to make you feel better.
If you believe that, that's actually a really destructive long-term belief, and I think will do more damage to you and our relationship. Mm-hmm. Now, I say that now, but in the moment, it's like, why do you have to be so difficult is how it feels. You know, the ultimate prayer in the Bible is, thy will, not mine, be done. And that really becomes true in these moments where I want this thing. And I had a mentor that worked with me for years and years and years on this. And it's just like, giving up my will, it's easy to say, like in a prayer at church or on a coffee table book, but in the moment, it's like...
when it hurts the most.
It really just was my will yesterday against yours. And I need to see that as God's will because he designed you a certain way and gave you a story, and it's okay for me not to get my way. So, yeah, she apologized about my feelings, but that helped a tiny bit. But, you know, I think there's only so much you can do, especially because you didn't really wrong me, I don't think. I mean, I think there was both areas we had immaturity. I don't feel like you, like, sinned against me or did anything wrong.
And I've been more careful to not apologize just to get him back emotionally.
Because that would just piss me off more.
Because I used to do that all the time. And that actually builds resentment in me because I'm actually apologizing for something that's not even real. It's like a fake apology. It's like groveling. Yeah, just not cool. But whatever, that was my story. And I feel like I've really been coming out of that. And that sucks for you too, for me to just apologize for like not even the real thing.
Well, yeah, it made me trust you less. Mm-hmm. So when you apologize now, I'm like, why are you apologizing? Or like, what for?
Yeah.
And
I think that's good. Like, I think it's good that you're calling me out on that. Like,
so some recommendations of what we're learning for healing and getting better in this area. Because once we kind of say like, okay, maybe it's not about you being wrong or me being wrong, but let's get better at this for the future because it just works better. That's a cool attitude and has been helpful for us. So the first thing is like we have to talk about it after the heated moment has passed and like things have cooled off a little bit. So there's two pieces of that. One is waiting, but the other is like not just shoving it under the rug or sweeping it under the rug, but being willing to do the hard work and say like, okay, what happened from your perspective? Like I actually really want to understand that.
Yeah.
And not just try and get my point across. And then I have some ideas like for some things you could have done differently and I could have done differently. We haven't like even talked about this part yet, but for the part I think I could have done differently is I have a very aggressive personality. I'm a firstborn. I'm used to getting my way. I'm used to thinking my way is the only way and the right way. And I think I could have asked you more before I initiated physically or even emotionally and said, hey, are you open to this? And I asked you some, but then I made some assumptions that were obviously wrong. So been more aggressively like questioning, I guess would be the word. And what I wish you would have done is when you shut me down, it just felt like a complete shutdown. So if you would have said something like, hey, I want this, but not right now. Or I like you, but I can't handle this right now. If it had like some positive with a negative, I think that would have helped me feel some hope in this. Or some of the brighter side or some of the other truths that I know you also believe. Instead of just like, you suck.
Get off me.
I don't want you around right now. I really wish we had been vlogging and would have had the ability to vlog some of our fights from 10 or 15 years ago because this shit would go on and on and on and it felt like our entire life.
Like sometimes days.
Oh, possibly weeks. At least days.
I wouldn't let it go that long. I couldn't let it go that long.
Yeah, that's when we had this like amazing makeup sex that doesn't exist anymore because we actually healthily outgrew it.
Ben laments
unfortunately
how healthy we've become.
We just weren't there. And if you're not there, I would say don't beat yourself up. Just be aware that maybe it's not your spouse's fault and maybe we are immature, at least on some level right now, and that's okay. I think God's okay with that. I've learned more to accept Cammie and her immaturity. I feel like you've accepted me and mine, and we're just more honest now and be like, man, I don't know why, but I get my feelings hurt sometimes. And Cammie's like the same way, and we just have to accept that, and that's where we're at. And growth happens naturally, you guys. It's not something I think you have to fight for in a huge way. Like, we're not responsible for our growth. I think we can hinder it by, like, you know, if you're drugged out all the time or medicating yourself like crazy, that'll prevent growth. But if it's healthy, it will naturally grow. It's a miracle that I think we are where we are now and that we can even share this story.
I think it's really easy to think that your side is more right than your spouse's side. I've really had to work hard to see, oh, Ben's feelings, him being hurt and being over there and emotionally withdrawing, is just as like valid of a story as my story.
We gotta go. We're gonna actually end the vlog right there because we got enough stuff for you guys, I think.
Yeah.
I'd love to see in the comments, do you guys ever feel this way, or are we the only ones?
Are we the freaks?